Great, but in terms of what you were looking for from the final pre-season friendly, how close was it?
Yeah, really good game. I thought for us had a bit of everything. I think, when you dissect it, I thought first half defended really well. A lot of it in block, but I think it's understanding that we have to go there at times this season if we want to win. And I thought, although we gave up a little bit of possession and gave it away too easily, we showed a great attitude and desire to defend and recover back in and put bodies on the line. Vlad only one that I remember first half, so although we gave up the ball, and then I thought we looked really dangerous first half, especially on transition. Some of the counter attacking, the goals excellent. Probably another 3 or 4 times I think Sarge was nearly in. So really really good moments there, and then you jump to second half and it changes a little bit where we probably got a lot more control, but maybe don't carry as much threat. And that's where we're at as a group. I'm quite clear on that. I think we've still got a lot of work to do. We've made huge progress, I think, in the last 5-6 weeks. We've still got a load, to come, and we'll keep pushing. I think we'll reflect, analyse today, and take the positives, take the things that we need to improve at, and we'll keep growing as a team, definitely.
I don't want to keep harking back to last season because you weren't here, but I noticed the first thing you said there was about defending well and making Norwich City a more difficult team to play against. Has that been the priority over the summer for you?
Yeah, I think it for me it's really important. I think because naturally the lads are human, right? I think they'll have days where not quite at it on the ball, or where the opposition managed to get on top, because we know how tight the division is. It's how do you then get something from those games? And I think the bare minimum that any fan should expect is to turn up and see a team that's hard to beat. And there's different ways of doing that. I think defensively is one way. I'd like us to be hard to beat with the ball by showing probably the control that we did second half. But yeah, for me it's that. It's the desire to defend your goal, to protect the goal, to get everybody back behind the ball, and the same as then going the other way. I want everybody to attack. And like I said, I thought some of the ways we went through, and I like the variation. I thought it was better today than what we showed against Den Haag. I thought we went through, we went over as well. We went short, we went long, and when you're trying to change some of the habits from last year, I think naturally it takes a little bit of time with new players and new methods. So we'll keep pushing, we'll keep working. We've got a huge amount of work to do, but we'll keep pushing.
And if there was a lesson from that wonderful win that the Lionesses had over the summer, it is you have to find ways of winning without always being at your best, don't you? And it's the same in the Championship.
Definitely that. And if your behaviours and basics are really high, I think you're a 6 out of 10 for me. And that comes down to duels. It comes down to being compact, being organised. Do we want to live in blocking our goal all the time? Of course not, definitely not. But at the same point, rather than keep opening up spaces and opportunities for the opposition when it's not quite right, well, the lads are quite clear now. What does that look like? So we'll keep pushing on things. Like I said, it's the start of a journey. We have to accelerate it because we want to win early, straight away. But I also think that the group in all areas of the game showed really high level moments. The challenge for us is how do we make that more consistent? How do we understand why do we get success that way and keep building on that?
In terms of where you wanted to be at this point, in terms of who's in the squad and where the team is fitness wise and the way you want to play tactically, how close are you?
Yeah, it's still a huge amount to do. I think I've been really pleased with the progress, and that's credit to the lads, the culture we've created. I think you see it today. Tried to freshen it up a little bit this week. The game against Den Haag, such a long camp. At the end of it, you could see the lads were a little bit tired. So we gave them a couple of days off, back in, worked hard in training for a few days, and thought you could see some of the freshness. I thought today, like I said, some of the change of intensity when we attacked. I really enjoyed, and that's the biggest bit. I want to enjoy watching the team as much as the fans do.
You've got a big squad at the moment, haven't you, with all the signings that have been made? Does that mean it's inevitable that some players will leave a bit before the window closes? Yeah,
I think so. I think that's not always in mine and our control. So, but yeah, naturally we're a little bit heavy. Obviously, I think been able to do some really good proactive work. Some terrific support from the owners and from Ben, Neil, and Lee to be able to bring in what we have. I'm really excited by some of the additions. And the consequence of that is we've got a few too many, but. I'm sure in the coming weeks there'll be a few that will leave as well.
Yeah, but putting 2 and 2 together, you've got experienced players like Shane Duffy and Anis Ben Slimani who weren't involved today. But does that mean that they are among those who might go?
Possibly. I think it like I said, I don't dictate that. I think there's the possibility of that. I think I'm sure with the guys you mentioned, everybody wants to play football, and if that's not happening here or not likely here, then I'm sure that people who want to pursue alternative options. So yeah, until everything definite happens, I think we're out. We'll keep working with them. We'll keep pushing with them. Their attitude's been top in training, and we'll see how that plays out.
And now that the real stuff starts, and it means more to be in the team, Is this where you have some quite honest conversations with players about where they are in your reckoning?
Yeah, and I've had a few this week, and I think that's really important for me. I think, unfortunately, we live in a world now where people are, a little bit fearful of sitting down and having difficult conversations face to face. I think, for me, the most important thing is that I do that. That me, Ben, sit with the guys. We're straight. We're honest. I think, of course, you get the emotional side where people don't always want to hear it, but I think what they will carry is respect in that you've been, upfront and honest. So for me, I'd much prefer to work that way. As we develop relationships, the lads will see over time that, that for me is really important.
Just to finish with, that's the friendlies done. In a week's time, the real stuff starts here. Is there an excitement?
Yeah, I can't wait. Great to do my first game here, and can't wait to do it next week. I think, we want to make this a real fortress. We want to make it a tough place to come. We've really got the potential to do that. It's like when we're talking in the fans forum, it's on us to create that, to create the excitement for the fans to turn up and look forward to doing it. At the same point I'll put a bit on the fans to challenge them to turn up and be proactive and get behind the lads. And if we can do that, I think it then becomes something special. I think creating a place where the lads turn up and give everything, the fans turn up and give everything, and irrespective, we're all in on it. We all want to be successful. We want to achieve. We want to be successful at this club. So I'm really looking forward to next week.
You're expecting the Barclay to be like the Breda fans then today next week?
I hope so. Yeah, I hope the whole place is like it, not just the Barclay, the whole place. Get it rocking. I think football's about memories, right? I think it's such a big thing, and I'm sure there's many parents or kids and different generations here. I think let's try and create some memories this season. I think it is, and in the good memories, let's enjoy it, and in the tough times, yes, let's stick together. I think that's really important. Football clubs are built on people, so let's stick together and really have a go.
Thanks. Good luck.
Thank you.
Liam, a few from me. You mentioned those transition moments. Papa Amadou Diallo, first sighting of him, his pace. What sort of difference did he make in those type of situations in that position?
Yeah, really pleased with Papa today. I think not easy coming over, language. I think he's shown a real good footballing brain in terms of, because he doesn't necessarily understand everything that we've spoken about, but the visuals we've given him, the work we've done on training, I think he's shown quickly that he's got a good footballing brain and able to transfer that. And I think then you see some of his attacking stuff. He's slightly different in his ball carrying. I think in duels and dribbling, I think gives us a slightly different dimension. And the fact that he can play anywhere on the left side, he can play central, so it gives us the options of moving him about and causing problems that way. So he was good for 45 today.
And what's the balance at the moment? Because obviously you put him straight in today. Is there a fitness element that you have to manage, or do you have to hold him back a little bit in these type of situations as well?
Yeah, there's a couple on that, unfortunately, where we have to be a little bit smart. I think we've got to pick a team to win next weekend, but at the same point we have many games after that where we want as many available as possible. So Jeff's another one, where people come in at different stages. You can rush them, force them in quickly, increase minutes, and there's always the risk. And we're in that industry where we have to take calculated risks, but at the minute it's unnecessary. I think with those we can build them up and get them up to speed. So there's a few in the group, but I thought it was really good to get some minutes in the legs today.
And actually, you've spoken a lot since you came in about creating a winning culture. Pre-season to win here, to get that feeling, that must be really important for what you're trying to build as well, even in pre-season.
Yeah, and of course, look, us coaches, if we win, we say great. It matters. If we lose, we say it's pre-season. It doesn't. So for me, look, I'll never. I think it's understanding how we win. A lot's been made around the winning stuff, and we do practice it because I like it where it takes the group emotionally. It's like sparring in boxing, right? You want it as close to the match day as possible, but at the same point, I think you have to understand how you win, and that comes down to the performance element, which is what we challenge the lads with today. So winning will be an outcome. It'll be a byproduct of us, working hard, competing, getting back behind the ball together, being brave and playing, showing quality to go forward. That will lead to us winning. So today the challenge was let's really get after a high level performance, and like I said, in each aspect of the game I saw certain elements of that, and at the same time I saw lots where we've still got work to do.
Ante Cianat's goal and an assist for him, really positive. I think a lot of people are looking for him to kind of step up a little bit on what he did last season. What have you made of him since you've been in the building, and the potential and talent that he has?
Big talent, but I think it's how do you turn talent into really consistent high level performance. I think that he does some really outstanding moments, and then I'm going to be tough on him because he does some sloppy moments as well. And if he wants to be a top player, which he's got the potential to, it's then how do you make sure that when you go from an 8 or 9 out of 10 down to a 6, 7, not a 4. And again, I think he's what I love about him is really open to learning. He's got a great character, really humble. So he's got all the attributes and behaviours that will allow him to progress and develop and get better, and we'll work with him to do that. And I think that's the biggest bit. I think when I look at the spots he's in, getting him central for him and getting him familiar with certain areas of the pitch is really important, rather than moving him around. I think that's hugely important for him. But any attacking player that can score and create in any game is always a big positive.
You mentioned his position there. I was going to ask you about that, because last season we saw him as a 9, we saw him out wide, and there was a lot of kind of flip-flopping between the two. Where do you see him? Where do you see that best position of his?
He has to be fairly central for me, left or right. I think he has to play between the lines. I think when you look at it, the way he receives off his back foot and slides people or drives to the balls, excellent. At the same point, I think he has to add a bit more where he's willing to run depth, but from deep. So for me, it's that he's best playing off a 9, and have an element of freedom. I think all of our attacking players have to feel that we'll create certain structure and certain ways of getting them the ball, and then I don't want to put shackles on people. I think that's really important. That I don't want to see robots playing the game. I want the lads to feel, especially your attacking players, feel free to be creative and take risks and try things. And Ante is definitely one of those.
You must have been really pleased to get Matthias and Jeffrey, as you mentioned earlier on, get them onto the pitch and get them out there as well.
Yeah, definitely. Both will add a huge amount to the group. Matthias is one that we've obviously had to take a little bit of time, given the summer he had and some extra time off because of the international stuff. So we've had to gradually build him back in, and then obviously Jeff's signed a bit later, so naturally you can see he's in great condition and looks after himself. But training on your own and doing runnings is very different to when you join a group and the unpredictable nature of football. So he's another one that we'll build up. But he's a big asset for the squad. And
just to clear up, because you mentioned there Shane Duffy, Anis Bensalai, no injury, just not involved for whatever reason today.
Not involved, and we've had discussions with them. Shane, I can't speak highly enough of his attitude, how he's worked in training, the voice he's had. And same as Anis, felt his groin a little bit this week, but we've obviously got a bigger squad. We know we've got too many bodies for a match day squad. We had too many on the bench today, so I think it's important. We've got the competition, but I think when you look at it, I'm sure in the coming weeks there might be one or two that move on.
Brad Hills as well, not involved. Is that sort of similar reasoning?
Yeah, but competition. I think in terms of it, I think I've had a really good, honest chat with Brad. And being quite straight up. I think we're where things are. He's obviously wants to play, desperate to play, as all the lads are. So I think it's one of those. We'll see how things pan out in the next few weeks.
With Brad, do you see him long term as being a real asset to this club? Because you say he's been out, he's had 2 really good, successful loan spells. I'm sure, as you said, he wants to play. Is it getting that balance of, does he need another loan? Does he actually need to go and find a permanent home? Is that sort of the challenge for him now?
Yeah, that's the challenge, isn't it? I think in terms of when you look at impact now versus in the future. As you said, he's another one who's been terrific pre-season in terms of his attitude, his application, how he's competed. We'll keep pushing him and see how he goes. I think it's one of those. Things will probably be a little bit clearer, I think, in the next 2 weeks. And
incoming wise, I think we saw today he had somebody in the director's box, Miko Topic. I mean, clearly that's quite close, but not done until it's done. So I don't know how much you will or won't want to speak to him about him, but how positive are you about that? What's he going to add to your squad if it does get done?
If it does get done. It's quite close. I think it's no secret. He was obviously here today. It's quite close. So we're hoping in the next few days we can do something to get it over the line and finalise. I think it's one of those slightly different profile to what we've got, but we'll talk about that one more when it's done.
I've got to ask you as well about Jovan Makama as well, the young Lincoln winger. Is that one as well you're hoping to get done in the coming days?
Possibly, yeah. I think in terms of there's a couple of bits behind the scenes that we're quite close on. That hopefully in the coming days we can be more definite, but until it's finalised, I don't want to jinx anything. Yeah,
absolutely. Right, final couple. I know you obviously spoke in the Netherlands about the schedule. I'm not going to take you back there, but how ready do you feel this group is in terms of physically and tactically, and where you want them to be in terms of the Championship start next week?
I think it comes back to looking at today, the progress in a week from Den Haag to today, the freshness, the understanding of certain attributes. And when you look at it, there's been so much change, I think, in terms of with me coming in with new faces. Naturally, it's going to look right at times, and you saw that today, and there'll be other times where it won't. And that for me is the bit in terms of evolving and growing a team. What we want to do is obviously hit the ground running and get points on the board as early as possible. But I understand in terms of especially this league how difficult it is to do. And for me, it's where you finish. It's, of course, starting well helps and is important, but we'll grow and get better over time. Mainly because of how we work. We're so consistent with the messages we ask, the way we coach. And for me, that people want to see unpredictable football, but what you then have to do if you want it to be unpredictable is empower players to make decisions, which naturally they'll get some right, they'll get some wrong. What we then work hard to do is coach that decision, and that takes a bit of time rather than, like I said, produce robots that go A to B.
Final one, you mentioned it earlier, but today, sort of a half-full Carrow Road. You must be really looking forward to a full Carrow Road next week in that home dugout for the first time.
Can't wait, delighted to be here. Yeah, loved it. Been around the city a few times, spent family are up here now, so delighted to be back in the area, delighted to be here. And first game, I want to get the place rocking. I think that's the biggest bit, the lads as well. I think, just said it a second ago, I think trying to create an atmosphere where everybody turns up, and players and fans not waiting to see what happens, just turning up and having a right go. And I think, I'll do everything in my power to make sure the lads are fired up and ready to go and give absolutely everything. And that'll be my challenge to the fans. Can you turn up and, rather than wait to see how it goes, give absolutely everything to get behind the lads, because I think that's when you create something special, and that's what we need to do here. You
mentioned your family. You're going to shift a lot of tickets in the next week or so for that game next week, although it's difficult in this place to do that.
Anyone asks me for tickets, I'm saying no, but unfortunately that's on my wife to deal with, so if anyone wants a ticket they have to go through her, unfortunately. So, but yeah, no, let's get it full, let's get it rocking.